We've been mentally prepared for the fact that Glamlite were doing a Nightmare on Elm Street collaboration, but now we know what the whole thing looks like, and it's a lot. Instead of having one palette, they actually decided to go for two smaller palettes than the palettes that they've done in their previous horror collections, but they also have a chunk of other things. Let's jump into it and talk about exactly what this collection includes. This is all available right now as you're watching, so you can get the full collection without a PR box for $158, but if you want the limited edition PR box, you have to spend an extra $20 for that. I find it quite funny because I only just got my Ghost Face palette today, like it just arrived today. We can't seem to enjoy the previous collections without them coming out with a new one. So as I said before, they have two eyeshadow palettes. One is called Dream Master, so that's the more red toned one. And the other one is called Freddy Krueger, and that's for $24. That's the green toned one. If you wanted to get the two of those, you can bundle them together for $44. Personally, I think it was wise of them to go with the 10-pan palette rather than the larger palettes that they've done recently, because otherwise they would have ended up repeating quite a few things. That being said, I do feel like this is kind of similar to the Chucky palette. Is it an exact dupe? Absolutely not. But if they had gone for a larger one, it would have started to very much head towards the duping territory. Each of the shades is actually embossed with either like a claw or those little scratching wounds, which always fun to see. And you can see the swatches. They're deep, they're dark, they're spooky. I mean, you're not going to see a pastel horror themed palette. That would be a bit weird. Maybe if like Pikachu goes rogue. Who knows? The palette that I'm that little bit more interested in is the Freddy Krueger one, because that's green toned. And if you know me, well, you know that that's my sort of jam. There's something about this that kind of reminds me of some of their tones from, they had like this green cocktail palette. I wonder how much of that overlaps. They're very blue toned greens. And you can really see that in the swatches. It's not entirely my kind of thing, but I'm glad to see that they did something a little bit different. It makes sense that they went with red and green. I mean, that's his very odd Christmas jumper, which genuinely confused me for a really, really long time. But it makes sense that they've done those kind of two palettes rather than mixing red and green together, because what is the phrase? Red and green should never be seen. Fair enough. They also have their killer lip oil, which is retailing for $10. And I don't know how to say this kindly. I am so sick of lip oils. I really feel like they could have done without this one. Like, it looks nice on, absolutely no disagreement there, but I don't think this was 100% necessary. But I get why they're doing it. They're trying to maximize on a profit, because I don't know how they're actually selling these things at this price when they are an indie brand that has obviously paid for trademarking and licensing for this intellectual property. But I mean, that's just me going off on a tangent. They also have this lipstick duo for $20, and I gotta say, I actually think this is really pretty. I just love that mix between that kind of light pink and that more mauve tone. And I mean, the little embossing on it, so cute. I mean, that is just such a stunning shade. And I feel like the two shades together would be the perfect ombre lip. And again, I really appreciate that they've kind of shown this across different skin tones, because it gives you more of an idea of how it's going to operate on you. I really like this colour, and I didn't think I would, but it looks absolutely stunning on. And I'm convinced that they might have actually done a little bit of an ombre here, and if so, fabulous. Really love it. They then have a blush trio for $18, and I just feel this is a little bit weird, because if you look at that shade over on the right hand side, I don't know if somebody who's very pale could wear this, and then I don't know if somebody who's very deep skin tone could necessarily wear that pink on the left hand side. So it feels a little bit disjointed. Maybe they should have come out with singles rather than a trio, because I would kind of struggle to wear those kind of two shades over on the right. I think I could make that pink on the left hand work for me. However, this may be more built towards medium skin tones, in which case, kudos. It's nice. I wouldn't personally get it. But then it looks a lot lighter here, so I don't really know what's going on. Again, they've obviously went quite big on the embossing here. The makeup bag then is retailing for $22, and it kind of feels like this isn't quite to the same level as the previous collections. It feels a little bit like they've run out of steam. Like, other than the red and green sort of stripes, there's nothing about this that kind of screams Nightmare on Elm Street. It's very kind of copy paste. Is that really bad of me to say? It probably is, but there you go. And kind of the back detail looks a little bit like it's shoehorned on. It doesn't seem like a very natural transition. Of course, they've also included a mirror, and this is $22. Again, I feel like this just isn't anywhere near as strong as the previous mirrors. Like, this feels a little bit more like, am I being mean? Because this doesn't have the level of like embossing and 3D detail as the previous sort of mirrors. So it feels like now that we've seen all of the rest of them, this is a little bit like, did you run out of steam? Did you run out of ideas? Unless they've maybe like embossed the hand to kind of come out in a particular way, maybe, but it doesn't really look like that. It looks quite like a flat lay. But obviously take everything that I'm saying with a pinch of salt. These are just my opinions, and my opinions mean nothing. Finally, they have their 5-piece brush set, and that's retailing for $24. And I gotta say, the component that it comes in, that little packaging, yes, it's a bit wasteful. It's a lot of packaging, but I think it's actually quite cute. It looks like a little cassette tape. You know, when you had to use a VHS. Cassette is different to VHS. Anyways, whatever. There's nothing wildly special or different about these particular brushes. I amn't that into these sort of shapes, bar maybe the one on the right hand side. Other than that, not really. I kind of have these sort of shapes already, but they're not bad for $24 for 5 brushes. It's not bad at all. I don't know. For me, I'm just not into it, but I think it's possibly because I was never really that into Nightmare on Elm Street, but also leaning into the fact that Glamlite are just doing so many releases, and it just personally to me feels like a little bit too much. Like, I've gotten a bit overwhelmed. It feels like, I know, I'm going to say it here, it's a terrible pun, you know it's coming, overkill. Yeah, they could have waited. They really could have. I feel like there was even just too much of a whatever, like it was too soon coming between Ghostface and then the Jason collection. Like, that was just a little bit too much, and now we've such a short space between the Jason and the Freddy collection, so you're like, oh, I assume, maybe I'm being very, very weird, maybe this is the last thing that they're doing pre-Christmas. I would hope so, because I don't know about you, but I swear to God, if we come into November and we have another Glamlite launch, I think I will just cry. It's too much. It's going way too much into like fast beauty, whatever. And I know there's a lot of people who are collectors and they're kind of struggling to try and get all of these things that they want. And it just kind of, it's a thing. Like, I know it's all very first world problems, but I just feel they could have dialed it back a little bit. Did they need to have the mirror? No, they didn't. It feels a bit... Did they need to have the makeup bag? No, they did not. Did they need the lip oil? No, they didn't. I would also argue that they probably only needed one of the eyeshadow palettes. The green one, because I like that one. But I don't know. There's nothing about this collection that's necessarily screaming to me, other than I actually really quite like the lipsticks. But other than that, that's about it. Oh, don't look there. Anyways, my gorgeous friends, let me know what you guys think. Are you into this, or are you just kind of a bit like burnt out by the whole thing, which is essentially where I am with it?